In between there are certain other things written, dharma, that is related to all the 4 stages of life. Artha and kama are written at grihastha alone. Given a chance, what is the kind of janma you want? Next janma, what's the kind of it? Given a chance, I did not give you a chance not to choose. No, I don't want next janma. No, that choice is not given. Given a chance. What option? Super asalu nu enta nachavante Telugu I am working on your scripts. I have a target of about a week's time to finish all your scripts. So in the meantime, don't start crying. One lady had mailed me almost, crying. So I don't want. I don't want to trouble you. Give me a week's time. I'm almost there. I think about 50 plus scripts are there. I'll be done in this week's time. So you can be rest assured. So, and then she was writing, I know that it is difficult for you to read all whatever we write, but that's my job. That's not a problem, it's not difficult, it's my job. 4 ashramas we have. There are so many dharma shastras actually. Hinduism has a large number of scriptures and religious books. Not one, there's so much of diversity. The diversity gives flexibility to people. It's like whatever I do is right. We actually keep talking about having similar rules and regulations across culture groups, across religions. We forget that Hinduism itself is so very diverse. There are people who worship one single god, there are people who worship tens and lakhs and crores of them. There is a competition between gods and rivalries between them, and hence people who are the devotees of those gods are also rivals to each other. Now, and what happens is most often among so many religious writings, a lot of dependence happens on one of the dharma shastras called Manu's Dharma Shastra or Manusmriti. Because of the time period at which it has come, after so many varieties of books that were written, towards the end of it has come, and it had come to stay. It is a very elaborate document that talks about, that analyzes the major Hindu belief systems, especially those with karma, rebirth and ashrama. But before I talk about what Manu had to speak about these 4 ashramas, I thought I would show certain other names to you as well. Randomly I am picking up some of the names there. This is the first one, Upanishada, one of the Upanishadas there, Chandogya Upanishada. Is it visible, sir, to the last? Yes or no? Okay, thank you. Chandogya Upanishada mentions that there are 3 stages of ashrama. Is nothing but ashram is something like a stage of life. It's like a stage of life. We were speaking of one writer in the previous class called Apte. You remember Apte? Apte defines ashrama as the effort that you put at different places, at different stages of your life. So there are 2 meanings there. One is stage of life, is ashram. Secondly, the effort that you put. Secondly, the effort that you put in different stages is also called ashrama. Now here there are 3 ashramas mentioned in the Chandogya Upanishada, Brahmacharya, Grihastha. Actually there was no distinction between Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. So if at all the question occurs on ashrama system, examiner expects you to write about Jabala Upanishad. Where for the first time the 4 stages were mentioned. There are a few other names before that, just have a look at it. This is another Dharma Shastra. I am using English words only for our own convenience. Apastamba Dharma Shastra that talks about the stage of life where you live with the teacher, and you are a housemaker, you are a muni, and then you are a forest dweller. So it is like, the muni is the 3rd stage. Generally we have sannyasa, that is the last stage. In this particular case, after you have lived certain period of life in the mainstream society as a muni, you are retiring completely off the mainstream society to live in the forest forever. That is the stage of forest dweller. Generally, evolution of these titles, etc., is not asked only for our own comfort and a bit of extra reading. We are writing this, we are looking at it. And also to say that it is not simply one document of Manu that dealt with the ashrama system, there were many more earlier too. By the way, you started reading the 2nd booklet, AN02? Yes or no? Can I see the hands of people who have started reading? What happened to the others? People seem to be so very busy. I thought at least yesterday when you were not in the class, you could spend those 2-3 hours on the book. Is it something like a lack of motivation, lack of interest, or something else? Lack of what? Class lekunde kada. Class unte anukochu. When you didn't even have a class, 3 hours bonus was given to you. I wish I could have my stick so that I can use on you. Yes. So meaning that most of us have decided to meet me next year too. If you have decided to meet me next year too, suppose you are writing the exam in 2018. I believe that you are all planning to write your exam in 2018. If this was the thing, maybe you have decided to meet me in 2019 also. Don't get me wrong. I am much more bitter than this. But you will have to understand, I don't know, there should be always something like a cold chill in your vertebra. The moment you think of the exam, that kind of restlessness should be there. I don't know, maybe your fallback option is so strong that it is not motivating you to study hard. Most of the time when we are coming to study for this particular exam, we come with one option which is a plan B. Many times we see that plan B becomes stronger than this plan A. Don't let that happen. Sir, unless and until you think that this is your life and that this doesn't happen. People might have said to you that, see, I was doing a job and parallelly I was doing this and all that stuff. Not everybody is one and the same, that is number one. Second thing is, at least on a daily basis, whatever we are doing in the class, you should be able to give a basic reading. We are not here to talk more than that. That is the other fellow. Gautama's Dharma Shastra. It is actually similar to the previous scheme, where we find a bhikshu comes first and then the forest dweller. He uses a word called vaikhanasa. Use this word for vanaprastha. Vaikhanasa, the dweller of the forest. We are saying that prior to Manusmriti, good number of documents were there that dealt with the stages of life. See, whatever we are going to deal with in the next couple of classes in the form of either ashramas or purusharthas, these are something like the moral code of conduct given by the Sanatana Dharma. Every faith, for that matter, comes up with its own, every culture group comes up with its own rules and regulations so that a social order can be maintained. Somebody was asking me this question, if at all everything had come out of Brahma, and when everything has to go to the Brahma, why is it that Brahma is creating? See, I did not want to indulge into some kind of detailed theological talk there. But then whichever faith, I was replying this to the writer, to the questioner there. There are certain tests any faith has to pass. There are certain tests any faith has to pass to give a convincing answer. The first question any faith has to answer is the reasons and nature of origin of man. Meaning why you are there, what is the meaning of your existence. The one other question is that of morality. One is the origin. Within origin, there is one thing that is included there called meaning, origin and meaning. Some people distinguish these two. One is how you are actually born, how you are actually created. So whichever faith that you are trying to examine, the first thing you should look at is how, when, where, how you are actually, who had created you. And second thing could be meaning of the creation. What is the purpose of your life? Every faith has its own way of explaining what is the meaning, what is the purpose of the human life. The third one is the aspect of morality. Morality is what is right and what is wrong, and who tells you what is right and what is wrong. Is this right and wrong applicable to all societies across time and space? Or is it like something that was right at one point of time in history was right at that time, it is no more right now? If that is the case, is it that right and wrong are changing from time to time? We know in anthropology that there is no universal right and wrong. So we are actually not somebody who, anthropology cannot stand test to such kind of questions. So I was saying this origin, meaning, morality. So that's what I was mentioning to the writer, that every religion has got its own way of looking at things. Why was it that God had to create, Brahma had to create this? Was there any purpose for him? Or if some other god, because every religion has got its own god. If some other Jewish god was creating his own people, why is it that he was creating? Or a Christian god was creating somebody, why is it that he was creating somebody? So you'll have to look at that kind of perspectives there. That I am slightly putting aside all that discussion, primarily because that is not part of your syllabus. Otherwise, on each of the things we can have one class on origin, on meaning, on morality, etc., etc. There is also one other key question that troubles people to accept religions, that is, what could be our destiny? Like how we have Beauvoisian 4 branches, several theologians present religions from these 4 angles. If any religion, if any faith is able to give a convincing answer about what afterlife, then that has won the test. Okay. Somehow, Indians, we boast of having rich culture. But how many of us, what percentage of us are still pursuing that kind of a cultural pursuit? God knows. Because we don't see, I was rather shocked on one of the occasions. I mean, initially when I was put across to somebody, she was mentioning that she was studying in some XYZ university, and she was doing some theology course, and then she told me that she has completed 50% of her worship class, in the sense that there are worship classes, how many hours you are actually spending in worship. So at that point of time, it was quite a surprise for me to see that, okay, you are giving marks for how much of time you are spending with the God. So grades are given based on the time that you are spending with the God. And it is not simply the time that you are sitting with the God, but as a part of it, several things that you are doing. You may be reading a scripture, you are writing note on the scripture, kind of things, and you are meditating on particular lines, and you are trying to reflect on what you are actually thinking of that. It is so very unfortunate that we who have had a long cultural history, we have somehow got diverted somewhere to certain other things. Whereas I think a lot of Western societies are coming into the fold of this kind of looking towards the God. Maybe we are trying to ape them. So when they were going from religion to materialism, we are almost going into materialism. So at one point of time, maybe we will also come back, like how, psychic unity, or maybe something like unilinear evolution that works there also. Now, one of the students was asking the other day that he was applying for an MA course in so and so university. If at all any opportunity is there, if you come across any such opportunities, not simply anthro for that matter, international relations or whatever, you try to finish off your course, because in UPSC preparation, time flies off. You are actually in some kind of a dhyan mudra. There's some maya there. You are in a deep hibernation when you are in the preparation. Suddenly one fine day when you wake up, you see that the rest of the humanity has moved so much forward. And you are there where you were standing. That shall not happen. So this pursuit of having an academic, increasing the academic record should parallelly go on. Whatever topics that you are actually doing in your civil services, you can extend them to, convert them to measurable academic things. That would really help you. So it's not like one fine day when you're trying to pursue some kind of an employment, this should not hamper. UPSC should not hamper. That was Vaikhanasa. Vasumitra Dharmashastra, this was one more. So you see that Vanaprastha had moved up, and Sannyasa with a new name was given called Parivrajaka. This is actually to make you acquainted to the list of terms. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Parivrajaka. Can I go, sir? I'm coming to the last one there. This is the one mostly followed, mostly referred to. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa or Yati. Manusmriti gives us details of what will be your next janma based on what you are doing in this janma. You can actually reduce his writings to certain tables. You can have a verifiability there. Like, I have done this, so my next Janma is this kind of. Or maybe you can come from front to back. I want to be this in the next Janma, what I should do now? That's the reason why I was asking you, what do you want to be in the next Janma? Is it that a Brahmin, or is it that a Kshatriya, or maybe some animate thing, some inanimate thing? So everything is based on what you're doing in this particular Janma. Manu prescribes punishment so very clearly. Before going into the punishments, etc., let me begin with the kind of classification that he gives. In Hindu Dharma, an ideal human life has to be of 100 years. An ideal human life has to be of 100 years. Is it okay? Should I switch on the light for you? That's how we see, whenever somebody is blessing you, generally they say that live for 100 years. So, Salgio, there is nothing like 50 years. Our retirement age is much less than the original life that is actually considered to be ideal, 100 years, divided into 4 parts, 25 years each. First 25 years for brahmacharya, then you have grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyasa. Most of the people are dying these days before reaching 75. So there is nothing like a sannyasa there. Maybe you will have to pursue your 4 ashramas within the 75 years of age that you are living. And not simply that, there are slight differences here. Bear in mind that not all 4 ashramas are entitled to our varnas. Not all 4 ashramas are entitled to all 4 varnas. First you take that down, then we'll start talking about it. So horizontally, brahmachari, says spelling error there, CHA, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. Vertically you have Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmin. For Sudra there is only one ashrama that is assigned, grihastha. For Vaishya there are 2, vanaprastha and sannyasa. For Kshatriya, for Vaishya, vanaprastha and sannyasa are not actually mandatory. For Kshatriya, sannyasa is not mandatory. For Brahmin, all the 4 stages. Is it visible to you, or you can shift that sign? One ashrama that is available for everybody is grihastha. Maybe that is also one of the reasons for the flourishing population of India. And of course, climatic effects are also there. The climate of Indian subcontinent is highly convenient for higher fertility. In one of our earlier classes, I was mentioning that across all the species, generally, males have a supremacy. When I was saying that, that was a casual remark. People had written a mail to me that quoting certain animals where females are more aggressive than males. I mean, don't take it personally, sir. That was a very casual remark. What you have given was an exception. Exceptions can't be generalized. अभी इतना आप अंडे के ऊपर का खाल निकालोगे तो then I will have to be very, very careful in my talk. Can I go from here? So it shows that not all varnas have an obligation of implementing, executing, participating in all the 4 ashramas. We will start with the very first one, that is brahmacharya. So I was making a mention that suppose you are lucky enough to have a janma as a human. You are lucky enough to have a janma as a human. So based on the varna in which you are born, there are certain duties that you will have to perform. One of the duties is following the ashrama system. From the table, it was very much clear that only 3 of those varnas were entitled to brahmacharya. Shudra was not entitled to it. So brahmacharya is a stage where you would start your pupilhood. You would enter the stage of learning. That is, after one undergoes the rite of passage that is called upanayana. That's what we call the twice born caste, twice born varnas. There is one, the original physical janma, that's the first janma. The second one is your ritual janma, or the one that gives a new beginning to your life. It looks so very convenient. See, actually speaking, theoretically, if you see the Rigvedic writings, there is a prescription about at what age an individual from a particular varna has to enter brahmacharya ashrama. So a Brahmin shall enter at an early age, say about 8 years, and then Kshatriya will enter at about 10, and Vaishya will enter at about 12. Because the kind of volume that they will have to study differs that way. The content is different, and the volume is also different. Brahmin has to study a lot of things, so he will have to enter. Anybody who had undergone Upanayana here? Anybody who had gone through Upanayana here? I won't ask any questions. I won't ask any questions. Anybody who had undergone Upanayana? Next, I mean, whenever you have to get through that kind of rite of passage, you just observe this. Traditionally, there is also a difference in the differences are so very meticulous. It is not simply that at what age you are entering that ashrama. The rituals associated with each of the varna also differ, meaning how many turns you take of the thread. When it is a Brahmin, he has a thicker one. Material also differs. So if you are a Kshatriya, you are a Vaishya, the material will be very much different from some kind of very humble material, the kind of thread that you use. It is the cotton thread that is used by the Brahmin, whereas silk is forbidden for him. Silk is used by somebody else. Or certain varnas, certain caste groups, they even substitute the thread with the sacred metal as well. So these are the indications of, these are the differences that we see within the varna and within the caste. So whatever it could be, the intricate rituals, once you are finishing your entry into the new life, so it's something like this. Because this is the second janma for you, a new janma for you, whatever has happened earlier to it technically goes null and void. It technically goes null and void. Maybe that is the reason why we postpone our Upanayana. But we do understand that are you happy? Are you happy in the class? You look so very unhappy and low and whatnot. So it's like the rule is you cannot get married without being subjected to the Upanayana, and hence in most of the occasions what we find is once the marriage is fixed, just before the marriage, Upanayana is organized. So the time between Upanayana and marriage is so very short that you don't have much time. I'm here. You don't have much time to commit a long list of sins. Now, once Upanayana happens, you go to the Guru's ashrama and you live there till the 25th year, and during which time you are learning so many things. We are going to see certain rules, etc., that you'll have to follow. Once you have finished the 25 years of time, Guru gives a certificate. That's very much important. Once you go back home, you'll have to produce this certificate to the parent. So Guru writes that he has finished the task. He is eligible for the next stage of life. And this means that the parents are given a green signal so that they can look for a girl for you and get you married. You are not supposed to take up their task. That is their task. That is their dharma, not your dharma. So in one of the classes, we are going to see what are the various types of finding mates in Hinduism. Which is the best one, which is the lesser one, which is a sinful one, etc. So then I'm also going to give you clues where you can violate a bit. Technical violations are possible kind of things. So based on whom they are choosing, you get married to the girl, and then you are getting married to the girl for the sake of the society, not for yourself, that you will have to keep in mind. The reason for getting married is leaving progeny so that your lineage can flow, your culture will have somebody to propagate in the future. So we will start from there. Let me first give you certain terms. So we will start with the first discussion before I actually describe each of the ashramas. These are the various interpretations. The question is there a possibility of skipping any ashramas? Is there any possibility of skipping any ashramas, or should we have to go through all the ashramas in the right order? In the right order. First one, that is Samuchaya. Samuchaya says that no stage shall be skipped. No stage shall be skipped, and all the stages have to be followed in that prescribed order alone. So it is like Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. You are not leaving any, you shall not leave any. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, all of them have to be performed in that right order. It's not like, I would from Brahmacharya directly I will go to Sannyasa and then feel that okay, something is missing and I come back here. No, that back and forth movement is not actually recommended in Samuchaya. This was what was prescribed by Lord Krishna also. We will be referring to Lord Krishna at many places because of my personal love towards him. He was making a mention of this. That's valid for all of us. It's very important to be totally there at a place and time in order to get the maximum out of it. It is very important to be totally there at a place and time in order to get the maximum out of it. Many times it happens, you are physically here, mentally somewhere else. I know that you are looking at me, but your ears and your soul are somewhere else. this actually I am using it in a very basic level, but this can be extended to various relationships in life and the relation with the God himself. How many times it must have happened? I don't know how many of you are married, but it must be like you wanted to spend some time, you went there to spend some time with, maybe it's a parent, it's your own husband or wife or whatever, your friend or somebody, you were invited or you had to be there with them. But in the heart of the heart, you want to get out of it. How many times it must have happened? मेरा class का time हो रहा है, मुझे जाना है. I have already missed 10 classes of anthropology, don't know what is happening in the class. I am talking to so many people here who have missed those 10 classes. किधर थे भैया? Sister's marriage. Sister's marriage, okay. Thankfully it's not your marriage. Otherwise we could not have seen you here. Vivaham Vidyanasanam. But I personally feel is Vivaham can help people do more with their studies. Because that inquisitiveness is gone now. That longing to know things is no more there. You understand that everything there is not so very, whatever. You can fill the line. So I was recommending this to many of the generally parents keep coming, especially the parents of the girl students. Time ho raha and then we want to get her married kind of a thing. आजकल लड़कों का भी बहुत आ रहा है. I don't know why. More than the girls, boys' parents are now worried. लड़कियां नहीं मिलेंगी और कितने दिन बिठाएं इसको. Kind of a thing. So I tell them. So initially I used to counsel the parent. Wait कीजिए. But now I am counseling the children. If at all you are getting a good match, you just go ahead, get married. Because one major task is done. And once it is done, rest of the humanity is not worried about you. Because their task is fulfilled. They wanted you to drag into this discipline of samsara chakra. They have done it successfully, and once that is done, convincing your partner about your exam is your duty. Then you can peacefully study. In fact, both of you can peacefully sit and study. Family is preparing for UPSC exam. थोड़ा बाजू से बच्चे भी पैदा हो रहे, वो भी बैठ के पढ़ रहे. So don't think that marriage is something like a hampering thing about the exam. Anyways, so he was mentioning this, that it's very important to be completely there. There's a difference there. In English there are two words, completing and finishing. Now in your basic English you must have learned this. Many times we are actually looking to finish the things. And in finishing you are actually losing that completeness. Completing is comprehensively doing it. He says that there has to be a completion of the task. You will have to be completely there at that point of time. He demonstrates with his own life. We know that father brings him to that particular place, to the second mother, and then she takes care for so many years. He gets in from boyhood to youthful life. He spends so much of time with the gopikas out there. And once the day came when he had to leave the place to go to Dwarika, the scripture never mentions that he had come back to meet maybe Radha, to certain other ladies out there. Not even to visit the parents who had brought him up. Not going back there. Because maybe, now this is a very funny thing. We also use in the class, I also use in the class many times. How many times you must have said to him, said to her, that I missed you. In the class, when I tell a student I miss you, the tone and tenor is very different from what I used just now. You should not get a time in life. You should not get a time in life to say to your dearest ones, to say that you have missed them. Whatever opportunity is given to you, you shall not miss the opportunity of being with them totally. Those regrets should not come in life. Many of us find these regrets, especially with our parents. When they are there with us, we take them for granted. When they are gone, nothing can change now. In one of our classes earlier, I told you this. I asked you to go back, talk to your mother. I don't know whether we did that. Spending time with your parent, talking to them, because आजकल तो मोबाइल का ज़माना है, message is sent, I want so and so much of money. Because additional charge is quoted by the institute, I have to pay them more money. You're not even talking to them, at least to ask the additional funds. Heart sinks if we think about our own selves, who consider our parents as ATM machines and not more than that. They might also be doing it because it is their duty, or maybe it is out of the love they are doing, thinking that one fine day you'll make name for them. But over and above this, it is time, I think we will have to check our relationship with our parents first. And if at all you are married, you check your relation with your partner. Because time, once it is gone, you will not receive it back. That's what he was mentioning, being there completely, psychologically. And there are the other things there, vikalpa. Vikalpa is option. There is an option for skipping of stages. There is an option for skipping of stages. So maybe you can start from brahmacharya, you go to grihastha, more than happy there, I don't want to go ahead from there. Or maybe from brahmacharya to directly sannyasa, a very typical Buddhist way of life. Brahmacharya to sannyasa, you have skipped vanaprastha and grihastha. That is vikalpa. Stages can be skipped. For Krishna, this is not very encouraging. This is not very encouraging. I'll tell you why. This reason we'll have to explain. Badha is a philosophy according to which Grihastha is the most important stage of life. Grihastha is the most important stage of life, not because it gives you that badha. Basically, brahmacharya, most of you know these things, it's a repetition of what you actually know. Brahmacharya is a stage of student, a learning stage. You learn how to live. Theory is given to you. Grihastha is a practical stage. Whatever theory you have learned, you will be putting them to practice. Many times you see that you are far from what is recommended for you, what is taught for you. See, 100% you will not be able to follow, that is very difficult. But to the extent possible, you should see to it that you adhere to the principles. In the process, you realize that something has gone wrong. So in Vanaprastha, what you do is, you go to Vana along with your wife. You spend there about 25 years. You are actually analyzing, thinking about your own self. How much you could reach what is being taught to you in the first stage. And you are actually trying to come to conclusions why you have done what you have done, or why you have not done certain things. From all these kinds of inquiries about your own self, you would finally come to an understanding that maybe I should have followed certain other things in order to adhere to, in order to see to it that I have the near 100% record. So meaning that the mistakes you have done, how you can avoid the kind of mistakes. So these things you will come back as sannyasi and teach to the rest of the world. Sannyasa is also an ashrama where you are relinquishing your relation with your family, you're leaving your wife, with whoever offspring that are left out. So she comes into your life at Grihastha, she stays through Grihastha and Vanaprastha. Now you are not responsible to her also. She is the responsibility of somebody else. So you'll leave her, you would become a wanderer, you would become a bhikshu, and you would keep teaching, preaching Satya, truth to everybody. That is actually the whole thing. Now coming here, Lord Krishna says that brahmacharya has to be continued with grihastha and vanaprastha, not with directly sannyasa, because in order to teach something in sannyasa, you should have actually executed what you have been taught in the brahmacharya ashrama. So grihastha is a practical stage. Without being exposed to the practical stage, you don't know the difficulties in implementing what is said to you. It's like teaching for UPSC without writing an UPSC exam. Or as a very popular story goes, something like when a young boy's mother comes to Gandhi asking him to recommend to the child not to eat sugar. So he buys some time because he had to first stop eating sugar. How he'll have to learn first. So he buys time from the mother, and then after some time she gets him. And then, so it's like a confidence that you will have. Once you have gone through the process, it gives you a confidence to face the situation. So you will be in a position to guide the people appropriately. So in order to give that kind of a guideline, it is very important that you go through all those stages. Now if we go into each of the stages, so you will have to understand this. Though there is something like a vikalpa to skip the stages, there is a recommendation that it is better you go with samuchaya. Let me go to the other ones. We'll start with brahmacharya. So once you are there in the Guru's house, there are so many rules to be followed. It is unlike the contemporary schooling system. Achamana, recitation of the Vedas, and the religious scriptures, serving the Guru, I remember our childhood days when we used to go to Maulvi Saab's house to learn to study Quran. So these things automatically happen. Serving the Guru. Thoda iska jhadu laga de, thoda ye kar de, thoda wo kar de. You actually don't say no because it is your Guru. And so we find it nothing wrong after all. So if the Guru is not well, serving the Guru kind of things. Vak samyam, this is very, very important. Having an absolute control over your tongue. Having an absolute control over your tongue. In fact, I love this very rule more than anything else in that list. You must have seen certain old-timers who do not take the name of the Guru. One who says, you shall not utter the name of the Guru. If at all you are doing so, ask for forgiveness. You see people touching their ear when the Guru's name is taken. You're not supposed to take the name of the Guru. There has to be proper prefix and suffixes when you are using the name of the Guru. You're not supposed to criticize the Guru. It's for your future, I'm telling you. You're not supposed to criticize. You're not supposed to question. You're not supposed to be indisciplined. పర్లేదు నేనేమనుకోను. I am not the guru of that time. So, in fact, this is what is very beautiful about Manu. When he gives this, be comfortable, నేనేమనుకోను, నిజంగా ఏమనుకోను, నువ్వు రెడ్ షూస్ వేసి వచ్చినా నేనేమనుకోను. హాంజీ సార్ ప్లీజ్. When he becomes Guru is sannyasa. Guru is sannyasa or vanaprastha. There are, see, it's something like this. Based on in which ashrama you are, your entry into, based on in which varna you are, based on that, your entry into particular ashramas is decided. Generally, if you are from, generally, if at all you see the three ashrama, three varnas, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya, for all the three, sannyasa seems to be the stage. If you could see the list in Vaishya, it is not mandatory. If at all somebody is considering seriously, sannyasa is the ashrama where you preach. Preaching need not necessarily be like, I have an ashram and I am doing all the kinds of stuff. That kind of a formal setup is mostly seen in the case of a Brahmin whose job itself is preaching. So meaning that the moment you are entering your grihasthashram, you are not simply entering a grihasthashram, you are parallelly becoming a guru also. That is your occupation. So that is the reason why what happens is, if you are entering the brahmacharya ashram now, you will find the guru living in a residential setup, meaning that he has a wife, he has children. So that's where there is the other set of rules. I think somewhere else. Yeah, you could see there. Yeah, there are the other set of rules. How you will have to behave with your Guru Patni and Guru Putri. This is actually valid to that kind of situations. Guru Putri is your sister, and Guru's son is next only to your Guru. Guru Patni, your Guru Mata. Don't have other thoughts. And God forbidden if your Guru dies, the responsibility of protecting or taking care of the Guru's family lies with you. And if your Guru dies, it is your duty to obey the orders of Guru Putra. He is next only to your Guru. I was there somewhere else. Yeah. Vak Samyama is having an absolute control over. In fact, Manu gives the complete list of rules and regulations to be followed by a student. There's a beautiful list of 10 conditions to be met with in order to be chosen as a student. After having fulfilled those conditions, there are other sets of rules that you will have to follow. Like, you're not supposed to sleep before your Guru sleeps, you're not supposed to eat before your Guru eats, get up before him and take care of that. Agni Parikarya, maintain the ashram, maintain fire in the ashram, clean up the ashram. There are a whole lot of rules out there. And when he was doing this, you are not supposed to sit in front of the Guru in the first place. Now there's no choice, you are sitting. Unless otherwise the Guru asks you to sit. And then even if you are sitting, you are not supposed to cross your legs. When you are sitting on the floor, you would fold your legs and sit. There's no choice with that. But crossing your legs and trying to shake the legs and kind of things. Some people have this eternal problem. This is always moving. Don't know why. There's some spring issue out there. Crossing the legs in front of the, I don't know. Did you observe your own posture of sitting in front of your father? Observe your posture of sitting in front of your father. Whether it is a respectable posture, or you're crossing your legs, or your father has already entered the room, you have the feet on his face. You don't even bother to sit right. You don't forget about the days when people used to get up the moment he used to walk into the room. I remember my father, whenever he used to come into the room, he would knock the door and come. And when he comes, we wouldn't actually sit and talk to him unless otherwise he says nahi baith jao, kind of a thing. I'm not saying that we are from certain generations away from you. No, I'm not so very grand old lady that you call me a totally old school, but psychologically we are old school, of course. I don't think, these are the times then, because you are almost there. You are there in the adult age. Any day you would be blessed with a child. Whether you're married or not married, that's a different issue. But once, because of course, we are giving a sanction to unmarried cohabitation and kind of things. So one fine day when the little fellow walks into your life and he does the same thing with you, so you will have to see whether you are giving that kind of a respect to your parent or not. I'm not asking you to give respect to the teacher. Gone are the days when, kind of. Bhiksha. As a student, it is your responsibility to take bhiksha, to ask for bhiksha in the rest of the village. So every day after your classes are over, you go around and then get a bhiksha. You offer it to the guru first. Leftovers are to be eaten by you, called auchishta. Eating the leftovers of the guru. Not possible, not recommended now. Times have changed, culture has to change. The so-called Guru Sishya Parampara hardly exists. And then Sambhyopasana, Surya Namaskaras, morning and evening worship. These are the basic duties of the student when he is in the ashrama. Apart from the whole list of other things like what to study varies from Varna to Varna. What to study varies from Varna to Varna. Number of scriptures, actually Manu gives the list also. This is the syllabus for Brahmin, this is the syllabus for Kshatriya, etc. Like UPSC Group 1, Group 2, syllabus, it varies from course to course. Then you have, towards the ashrama, you have duties like cleaning up and whatever livestock is there of the guru, you will have to take care of the livestock, milch them, clean them, kind of things. And then towards the guru also, towards the guru's family and everything. So it's a comprehensive study. It's not that I'm only studying the 4 Vedas and I'm finishing my study out there. Then you have the other things like Grihastha. Grihastha has, that is the stage where you are executing in practice what you have learnt. As a Grihastha, it is your duty to see to it that yajnas are performed towards the gods, towards the Brahma, the creator, towards one's own Pitru Devatas, towards the Bhuta, towards the other humans. So it is not simply God, towards the other spiritual beings also you have your responsibility. Grihastha's responsibility is to take care of all the living beings. You have in the opening chart written few things. Rinas, the variants there in Guru Rina, Deva Rina, Pitri Rina, and Atidhi Rina. Those are the variants that you see in Panchamahayagyas. On Rina we will have a separate lecture, but here I will have to give a hint to you. Rina is something like what you owe to the others. You are liable to the others. You are liable, you owe to the others. Something like a debt. Debt is a crude translation, but so you owe something to your Pitru Devatas, your parents. So there are ways in which you will have to pay back to your parents. How will you pay back to your parents? How will you pay back to your parents? Said something? Yes. Or with that? Progeny. First thing is progeny. Give rise to progeny so that their lineage flows. And that is the reason why, because we are a patrilineal society, we long for the putra. If you are not able to give a putra, then your task is unfulfilled. And how else? One is giving rise to a son. Second one is నీ మైండ్లో ఏం తిరుగుతుందో నాకు బాగా అర్థమైంది. తెలుగు వస్తుందా, తెలుగు రాదు. యూ డోంట్ నో తెలుగు, రైట్? యు ఆర్ ఏ తెలుగు. Taking care of them, okay. Passing the traditions that they have taught you, ways of life, cultural things, belief system, whatever they have given to you, it's your duty to pass it on to the next generations. So there are various kinds of rinas. One of them I really love is Atidhi Rina. We are at a stage where we don't want guests. But then Grihastha is somebody who is given the responsibility of taking care of not simply his own family, but the entire humanity and all the living beings. Several practices in Hinduism are actually intertwined with all this. So, of course, this is not a faith where we see percentages are prescribed, how much of your income has to go. That weakness is there in the faith. There are no particular amounts are not prescribed. But otherwise, in the interest of the society, you will have to give away, you will have to serve. That kind of duty is assigned to Grihastha. I'll go back to that previous picture so that we can initiate the talk on Purusharthas. Look at that picture once again that you have drawn. Or maybe Ashrama system is coextensive with the Purusharthas. Somehow the name itself is interesting. It is not Striyardhas. Though several people try to communicate that in Purusha, Stri is also included. But most of the duties that are mentioned here are keeping in view one, the Varna, the second one is the gender. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, these are the four moral guidelines that Hinduism gives. The ultimate goal is attaining moksha, reaching the supreme Brahma, the creator. When you reach there, you are not reaching in the physical form. Can you remember anybody who must have reached the God in the physical body? Do you remember any mythological figure who had reached the Brahma with his physical body? Vidisha. Yudhishthira. Going in the physical form, that's actually a rarity. Every time we see in the movies is that one light comes. The moment you die, this light comes and goes, it reaches the Brahma. So some kind of spiritual soul, that actually, that's where we call it transmigration. I'll show you certain pictures. We must renounce selfishness, separateness from the Brahma to find the joy. So you pursue certain things, Artha, karma, and you would finally would want to meet with the infinite being. Growth may take several lifetimes through reincarnation. Did you understand the picture? You are actually going from one step to the other. Artha, kama, dharma. Actually, this is a different kind of presentation. It is not that you are actually grading them 1, 2, and 3. Don't get it that way. It's not that you would first achieve artha, then you achieve kama, then no, it's not that way. These are only shown as the stepping stones to reach the final one called moksha. Whatever dharma, artha and kama you are pursuing, it is finally to achieve the final goal, that is moksha. In this picture, what I wanted you to look at is giving up selfishness and whatever, and then it takes several janmas in order to go there. You must have sensed that it is a very difficult task to attain moksha. Some rules are given to you, you will have to stick to the rules. Your karma, what you are doing, has to match with the rule book. Very difficult. Every now and then we see a difference between what you do and what has to be done, resulting in the possibility of having another janma. So it must be taking a lot of time. One after the other, you are taking one janma after the other. So what strikes to me is, maybe because of this we have so much of population in the country, that maybe that many souls are not attaining moksha, reborn again and again. I don't know. Don't look at me from a statistical perspective. Don't try to give me a record of statistics that kind of. And some people might also feel that, okay, it may not be only a human janma, there can be other janmas also, other life forms. I have an answer for that too. Other life forms are dwindling. Other life forms are dwindling. Maybe because that kind of activities are not done by the humans. So particular life forms are vanishing, not because you are ruthless towards them, you are eliminating them with all your non-eco-friendly activities. It may be that the kind of life form that might be resulting because of certain activities, that is not happening. And most often it is the human janma related activities are increasing, and because of that the number of human janmas are increasing. I hope you are following what I am saying. If you are not following, don't bother. This you have already seen. Look at that. People also have these questions. What should I do with the dead body? What should I do with the dead body? Hinduism is a combination of all the kinds of corpus disposal mechanisms. We bury, we partially cremate, we totally cremate, there can be a pot burial, there can be disposal of the body, total body or partial body into the waters, or only the remnants, the ashes are either sprinkled in the fields or left in the waters, holy rivers, whatever. Most of the time you must have heard people going to the holy rivers with the remains there. Cremation is something that is mostly adhered to. Spirit cannot be reborn or reincarnated until the body is destroyed. If the body is there, may be possible that the spirit may come and re-enter the same body, creating a confusion. You have already finished your death rituals. Suddenly you see the dead man walking. In order to avoid confusion, once the soul leaves the body, you properly take care of that body, you cremate it. It is said that fire, Agni, is the best of the absorption mechanisms. It is the best way of communicating with the heavens. That is the reason why in all the yagnas, you mandatorily have fire. Fire is a mechanism that takes whatever you are offering to the gods to the destined place. And fire gives the complete sanctity to the body. That is also the reason why we say the test in the fire is the one that is the ultimate test. So once that happens, the picture is very highly communicative enough. So people are coming with the body, they are, and this.
Why not burn gurus and children in the fire?
Children are generally, we keep them aside. These are the tender, more tender fellows. So it's like the same kind of feeling of affection rather. And at some places there is a practice that even the holy pious man or not, giving them a possibility of coming back alive with the same body. That's the rarity. It is not for everybody. You don't want an asura-like fellow. You leave the body and give an opportunity for him to come back. No. But of course in Hinduism all these combinations are there. We don't follow one, but majority of the communities, they use fire in cremation, but there are several who actually bury also. That's where we see so much of uniformity, so much of difference in the same faith. We are actually looking at different purusharthas. Finally, we would want to meet the Supreme God in the form of moksha. Till the moksha comes, we will be going round and round in those stages of life. Those are the four purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The first three are called Trivarga. I have written down there. Purusharthas are those moral obligations, moral code, so that a Hindu can attain his final goal. These are the moral obligations that can help the Hindu attain his final goal of moksha. For certain words such as dharma, there are no true English translations. At the most, what we use is the word duty, which is far from the actual meaning, or only part meaning of dharma. Dharma is what you shall perform. Dharma varies from individual to individual, from time to time, from place to place. Righteousness, economic value, sensual pleasure, all the three in right combinations would take you to moksha. See, everything can be actually, if I could show you something. Everything can be put in that way. Moksha is your final goal. You can attain it only if you are pursuing the other purusharthas in the lines of what is called dharma. We still haven't explained what dharma is. Dharma is the centrality of the ashrama system. We said that all the ashramas are entitled to dharma. Your dharma varies based on in which stage of life you are. When you are a brahmachari, your duty is to study and serve the guru, not to give rise to children. that are not the earning instinct. That is not your duty. In Vanaprastha, your duties are, see, dharma is all pervasive. It is there for all the ashramas. But how that dharma is actually to be fulfilled, there is a difference from time to time and from varna to varna. So your dharma is subject to so many variations. That's what we are going to see now. So in that picture, in the earlier picture that you have seen, at Grihastha we have used these two words also, that is artha and kama along with dharma, whereas dharma is linked to all the other ashramas. Every ashrama is entitled to certain dharmas, but when it comes to artha and kama, they are exclusive duties and responsibilities of Grihastha alone. I am using the words very carefully when I am saying that artha and kama are the duties of Grihastha. I am not calling them something like luxuries that he has. This picture shows that both artha and kama have to be performed in the lines of dharma alone. So many different interpretations are there. We will be in the class right now, we will be looking at two. But while we write, we can go into many more details. Dharma is what is ordained to be done, what is the duty of the individual. It is not simply the humans, non-human, animate, inanimate, every being has got its own dharma. Like the dharma of the tiger is to hunt a deer. If it is not fulfilling its dharma, it will not be able to survive. So you don't try to look down upon it because it is a carnivore and it is killing somebody else. As you could see very clearly in the Gita, even killing can be a dharma occasionally for particular humans. For a Brahmin, killing the other fellows may not be a dharma, or it's a violation of his dharma. But if it's a Kshatriya, punishing the wrongdoers, occasionally maybe by killing him, is also the duty of a Kshatriya. So, when you're doing the same kind of thing, two different people doing the same thing, but they may not be delivering the ordained duty for them. You cannot compare your own self with the others. Though both of you are doing the same kind of a mistake, committing the same kind of a sin, you two are not one and the same. When Manu says this, that for the same kind of a sin, people from two different varnas have different punishments. People from two different varnas have different punishments. See, it's something like this. In the varna system, Sudras are the ones that are not entitled to knowledge. They are not entitled to knowledge. When I am saying not entitled to knowledge or jnana, jnana is important to know what is right and what is wrong. So the system has deprived Sudras of getting the knowledge of right and wrong. Whereas a Brahmin is there who is writing scriptures and he should have an absolute command over the right and wrong. And with these two kinds of differences, if both of them are committing the same kind of a sin, the punishment will not be same for them. For a Brahmin, it has to be a higher punishment because he knew it and still he is committing a mistake. And the other fellow, he doesn't know, but still he is committing a mistake. So Brahmin has to be punished for two things. One, knowing and having that knowledge. You are not applying the knowledge, you are violating the knowledge. You are violating what you will have to do. So that's where we say dharma varies from individual to individual and from time to time. Say in the Satyuga or in the Krita Yuga. In the Krita Yuga, we were seeing in yesterday's class, the Varna that had to rule was a Kshatriya. That was the time of Rama. And when it comes to Dwapara, when Krishna was there, he was a Vaishya, he was ruling. That was his duty to rule in that particular era. So based on the time, your dharma actually varies. Coming here, Kane gives 4 popular categories of dharma: Manava dharma, Arya, and Varna Ashrama dharma. Being a human, first of all, you have to be having that humanistic orientation. There are certain traits that can be called human. Now, at this stage, we are not looking at the biological characteristics of human. When I say that being a human, you be a human and you observe a Manava dharma, what could be the traits that you can enlist as the ones that can be called human? Compassion and kindness. Sometimes we hear people saying, behave human, be human.
Discipline, duty towards society. Duty towards society.
So when I say, are you a human? Be a human. What are the characteristics of the so-called human? Apart from compassion, kindness, thinking ability. I heard it, I didn't respond. और बताइए. Huh? Civilization, empathy. Who said that? Empathy,
Morals.
empathy. Ability to distinguish between good and bad. Very good. And one more.
Control.
उम्दा और बताइए.
Being just, fair.
Very much near. और बताएं.
Responsibility.
Huh? Emotions. One other thing. చెప్పాడు, నేను పెద్దగా పట్టించుకోలేదు.
Doing the right.
Right or wrong is one, moral aspect is one, compassion is one, there is one other thing. Ethical, moral, right and wrong, ये ठीक है. और बताइए.
Culture.
Discipline, control, ఇవన్నీ మనకు కొంచెం కష్టంగా ఇంకేమైనా చెప్పు. Being selfish, very much right. और बताइए.
Being selfish, not being selfish.
We'll come back on that. One, no? Optimism.
Protecting the weak.
Sir, I'll change the question. Vis-a-vis the others, what do you expect from them, for you?
Do unto others what others.
नहीं वो ठीक है, वो क्या समझते हो? I mean, what is it that you are expecting? और I repeat my question. Vis-a-vis the others, what is it that you expect from them, for you? Trust, faith, or equality, respect, or అంతేనా? ఇంకా రెస్పెక్ట్ దగ్గరే ఉన్నారా? బాగా ఎదగాలి మాస్టర్, బాగా. Somebody said something? Okay, I'll change the question again. Love దే ఉంది, గట్టి కొడితే ఎవరైనా ఇస్తారు. More than love, something else. More than love? You said something? More than love? Suppose you go to the God. What is it that you ask from Him? When you go to the God, answer my question carefully. When you go to the God, you worship Him, what is it that you ask for? Vicious list is okay. वो तो लंबा चलेगा ही चलेगा. Apart from the vicious list, is there anything else? Moksha is also a wish. Forgiveness. Being human, above anything else, the characteristic is to be able to forgive the others. So it may be compassion, it may be love, or it may be several other things that you have said. But this one particular trait, these, according to Kane, are the Manava Dharma. Being a human, you should be in a position to love the others, be compassionate towards them, and to forgive their mistakes and sins. Because you are no less than him. Each one of us are champions in our own lists of sins. And each one of us need the kind of forgiveness. So when you go to the God, more than anything else, more than the wish list, what is more important is asking for forgiveness. Of course, every faith has got its own way of looking at the element of forgiveness. What if he forgets? What if he doesn't forgive? Anyway, whatever we have done, we have to do, we have already done. Does it really matter? Does it really matter after committing a sin? Does it really matter asking for forgiveness? So many times you must have said sorry to people. So liberally. That's nothing but you are asking for forgiveness. And can you recall any occasions when somebody said sorry and you said, no, nothing doing? Somebody said sorry to you. You didn't accept the apology. Can you remember anything of that kind? If that was the case, the sin has to be so very huge. Are those sins much bigger than the sin that you must have done towards the God? When he is there to forgive for all the sins, I don't know, the others there. When you are a member of Aryan society, towards the non-Aryans, towards your own society, you have different kinds of dharmas. If you are a member of Aryan society, you have the several lists there. You have to believe in Punarjanma, you have to believe in Varnashrama, you have to believe in several other things. So the entire list of the so-called Hindu social system actually comes into play when we say that we are members of the Aryan group. Arya here is thought in terms of the member of Hindu society, not as somebody who had come on an expedition from long way, from a far off place like Arctic, etc., to inhabit Indian society, Indian geography. It is not that way. Arya here actually means as a member of the Hindu society, you have certain things to believe in, and those are that. For each varna, we said there is a duty to perform. When I am saying this, for each varna there is a duty to perform, I am already talking about a time when varna has become an ascriptive element. It is no more an achievement-oriented element. Meaning I am talking about varna as a hereditary one, not as something like the Rigvedic varna, where we said that an individual had a choice of choosing his own varna. No. So I repeat. Manav Dharma, there are a few list of traits there. Arya as a member of the Hindu society. Varna, every Varna has got its own duty. Now, Varna is also something that is hereditary. So, we are looking at Varna in different stages of evolution. In the earliest time, individual was having an absolute choice. You must have read about this in the regular history books. Rigvedic time was very much different from the post-Vedic times. There is one popular notion which people say that in the Rigvedic times there was nothing like an untouchability. But somehow untouchability was reported, written even from the Rigvedic times. I can recall this one story of this small girl, about a 10-year-old girl. The story of the girl was narrated so very in detail there. The girl who was a Kshatriya, she was narrating this, that she goes out, she sees a Chandala, so she comes back home and washes her eyes. It says that, it actually indicates that even in the Rigvedic times, the untouchability was promptly followed. Generally, there are three types of untouchabilities. One, untouchability by touch. You're touching somebody, you are getting polluted. Or a set of people are touching you, your sanctity is lost. There is the other one, untouchability by sight. If somebody sees you, you are getting polluted. That's what she means here. She sees a Chandala. Chandala is the one that is born to a Brahman female and Shudra male. Chandala is the one that is born to a Brahman female and the Shudra male. I'll be sharing a beautiful list with you today. I'll give that list. Who is the offspring of which set of matings? Beautiful list of names are there. What if a Kshatriya female and a Brahman male, etc., etc. So that you can use these words in the daily conversations. There can be the other kind of untouchability, untouchability by shadow. These are the people called Nishadas. Nishadas, the one who are forbidden from entering the villages in the broad daylight, or when the shadow can be cast, meaning that they can enter only in the mid-afternoon or after the sunset. Rigveda also reports of this. There are certain communities, such as the Nishadas, who actually have a broom at their back. As they are walking, they are cleaning the floors, meaning their footsteps are also not supposed to be left when they have walked. If some kind of a pure caste is stepping on their footsteps, they might get polluted. So in order to avoid that, these people carry a broom behind them, and as they walk, they clear the floor. The things look to be so very inhuman, but those were the practices that were existing. You can't change your past. What you can at the most do is change the present and the future. But the desire of change is very little when somebody is from the upper segments of the society. For each ashrama, there is a different dharma. What you have to do in sannyasa ashrama, you will have to do there, not in the grihastha ashrama. In the stage of a student, you are supposed to study, not preach. There's a slightly bigger list. This is one of the other significant Dharma Shastras, Yajnavalkya Smriti. I find certain things interesting in him. Varna Dharma seems to be a repetition from the previous list. The Dharma of Kshatriya is to rule, to see to it that justice is administered, see to it that yajnas are performed and prosperity is ensured. Ashrama Dharma seems to be a repeated one. Kula Dharma, Kula here is family, not caste. Family or lineage, as we look at it. Kula is something like a family or a lineage. Towards your lineage, towards your family, you have your dharmas. Earning for them. Kula dharma. Swadharma, you have your own dharma, you are not supposed to perform others' dharma. Called paradharma. Most of the time we are busy giving advices to people on the task that is not ours. Advices given free of cost. You are not qualified, you are not supposed to advise. You are a doctor and you are advising on the medical practice, what has to be followed, what medicine has to be taken. These days everybody is a doctor. Qualification is very important. It's the same kind of a story of donkey and dog and washerman, swadharma and paradharma. If the duty is not yours, you are trying to perform, you will be badly beaten. And then yuga dharma, we have already seen each yuga gives particular duties to each varna. So if you are in the Kali Yuga, if you are a Sudra, you would be a superior fellow. You will have to be. Purusha and Stri dharma. Both are very much different from one another. Gender-based division of labor. Gender-based division of labor, gender-based qualification of dharma. Now it is from here I would want to give certain things. Of course, Raja Dharma, you will have to understand it different from a Kshatriya Dharma. All Rajas are Kshatriyas, but not all Kshatriyas are Rajas. Kshatriyas may be by birth or by bought lineages. By birth you may be a Kshatriya, or just because you have started ruling, you are starting to call yourself a Kshatriya, and you are trying to make lineages. A difference between Raja Dharma and Kshatriya Dharma. I was mentioning that all Kshatriyas cannot be Rajas, but all Rajas are Kshatriyas. I was actually trying to find out a better way of distinguishing, but I didn't find a better one than this. When Bahubali demonstrates the difference between a soldier and a king, a Senapati and a king, Senapati's objective is to eliminate the danger, eliminate the people. But a king has to take care of his own people also. So it is not simply the kind of bravery, it is also the ability to take care of his own people that makes a king a king. I wanted to say something else here. An extension of something called how to attain moksha. We were a little while ago speaking about jnana. In the Manusmriti's context, we were making a mention of this, that if certain lower groups, such as the Shudras, are deprived of access to Vedic learning or religious education, they will not be in a position to perform karma in a particular way. So execution of dharma may be difficult for them, and hence moksha is difficult for them. So you don't know what is right and what is wrong, but then you are actually judged for your rights and wrongs. That is where Lord Krishna says, if Jnana Marga is not possible for you, then you can go for a Bhakti Marga. So you have lists of people, lists of the devotees, who may not be very good at knowledge, but they, because of the love towards the God, they are in a position to attain moksha. So which is more important? Is it the knowledge or the love towards the God? That's where the discussion comes. Yes, you will have to mention that. That is the reason why we say out things in the class. Because after all, we are writing about the Hindu social system. So it is always better. See, if we are using the statements, quotations from them, you will be in a better position to write the things rather than. So I think once I start dictating notes to you, it will be much more clearer in what ways you can incorporate various quotations of this kind. Mostly I use Gita and Lord Krishna, and I also at many places use Vidura Niti because I personally like it when compared to several other Dharma Shastras. So these are the two things. Adi Shankara was saying this once. What is the use of knowledge if you don't have love? You don't have love for the God, but you only have so much of knowledge, what is right and what is wrong. So it is like an idol without the spirit of the God. All stones cannot be worshipped. All stones cannot be worshipped. Only a few can be worshipped. Only those that have the spirit of the God. I'm not glorifying idolatry, but I'm specifically talking from the perspective of Adi Shankara. So, if at all somebody is deprived of the knowledge of religion, scriptures, there is the other way out. It is understandable. A statement is coming from Dwapara Yuga, so it is understandable that there is a definite challenge of Brahmanism. That's how Brahma is challenged. In the previous classes, on one occasion we were speaking of this rivalry between Lord Krishna and Brahma and Indra. So maybe the rivalry is much more than being earth and in the heavens. The rivalry may be between a Brahmin and a Vaishya. I may be wrong, but then I'm looking at one other perspective. What could be the reason for a rivalry? Or maybe that Indra was really not liking people loving Krishna so much. Black fellow, but still people are loving you. I'm a white fellow. What's there in the color? You can't make a drink and have it. Color is not a panacea for everything. There are a few other things here. So dharma has its own connotations. Every individual, based on his social stratification, based on the era to which he belongs, he has to perform certain things. If one's karma and dharma, they meet, you actually attain moksha. Otherwise, you are there in the same cycle of birth and death. But if you go into slightly other details there, dharma is all pervasive. Everybody has his or her own dharma to perform. There was one question asked, and Krishna replies, is there a possibility of non-performance of a karma? There are two things that you should know here, two words. One is there a possibility of karma sannyasa? Second one is there something like a nishkama karma? These two are very different. Karma sannyasa and a nishkama karma. Karma sannyasa is relinquishing from doing anything. You're not doing anything. But Krishna says there cannot be anything like a karma sannyas. You cannot be a karma sannyasi. Sometimes, when you call your people or somebody calls you, kya kare, kuch nahi kare. Though you are saying that you are not doing anything, even in not doing anything, you are doing something. There is no moment in your life where you are not doing anything. You are doing something or the other. Even in choosing not to do, you are doing something. So for Krishna, there is nothing like a karma sannyasa. On the other hand, Krishna prefers every Hindu to be observing nishkama karma. Do the karma but be unattached to it. So that popular comparison with the drop of dew on the lotus leaf, it comes from Lord Krishna. You are there performing the duty, but you are unattached to it. So you are supposed to execute certain laws, but you see to it that you are not attached to them. Something that has been a puzzle for centuries. How can one be executing a nishkama karma? Not being attached to your own dharma, not being attached to your own duty. Many times we hear people saying that they are passionate of their own duty so that they can excel in their duty. But how is it possible that you are unattached but still you are excelling? One other question, whether this unattachment is equal to lack of love. This is only for you to think. I am not going to answer this. First thing is the difference between nishkama karma and karma sannyasa. I hope it is clear to you. Karma sannyasa is you are relinquishing the duty. Second one is you are doing but you are not really attached to your duty. Is it really possible? And thirdly, is this lack of attachment to one's own dharma or nishkama karma is equal to not loving one's own duty? If you are not loving your duty, how is it that you perform and excel? I leave the discussion there. I don't want to drag it further. Then, at many places, I'll have to abruptly put a saw. That's something else. Yeah. Coming to the other duties, I'll go to Artha. Chanakya in the Arthashastra, he mentions that both Artha and Kama have to be performed in the light of Dharma alone. Most of us know Arthashastra as something to do with broad guidelines being given for administration, etc. But there are a few chapters he is dedicating to attainment of Kama as well. So I am starting with Artha. Manu asked 3 questions. For whom you are earning, or for what you are earning, how you are earning, and how you are spending. These are the 3 questions. For whom and for what you are earning, how you are earning, and how you are spending. These are the 3 questions that present a relationship between Artha and Dharma. We said that Artha is the duty of a Grihastha. It's not like simply earning. Earning through Dharma is his duty. Earning through Dharma is his duty. That's where we say, what for you are earning, for whom you are earning. If you are earning for your own wife, it is okay. For the neighbor's wife, if you are earning, that is questionable. Though we say that being a human, being a grihastha, it is your responsibility to attend to the necessities of the entire humanity to the extent possible. But then first duty is take care of your own family. And how you are earning is also something very important. It has to be through means of righteousness. Many of us have targets of earning. So many crores of rupees in administration. When you are coming up with this kind of an objective, whether you are going to use the righteous means to do that, or you have in the beginning itself given away the rightful means. And how you are spending. How you are spending is an indication of how you must have earned. how you are spending must be an indication of how you have earned it. The spenders are of two kinds. One, who have slogged and earned it, and they have this confidence that they can earn any time. Second kind of spenders are, they have earned and you are spending. These are the fellows, the most adharma fellows. Meaning the ones who do not know the value of earning. You must have seen in your own families, in your own relatives, friends, some of these so-called models. Model in the sense that namuna, where somebody had earned for them, spending countlessly, irresponsibly. Where there is no responsibility, the result will not come. Until and unless you understand the value of each of the rupee, especially when you are in the civil services preparation, so much is at stake, numbers of youthful years. You suddenly find that your youthfulness is gone. Very painful thing. Of course, UPSC is doing its omen duty in keeping the youthful people busy by contributing to the population policy. That's a different thing. And interestingly, year after year, the age for the exam is also getting relaxed, keeping you all the more busy for years. Your emotions are at stake. Your chronology, your emotions, your money, your self-respect, everything is at stake. You are answerable not only to the rest of the people, but answerable to your own self. I think every day, at least 10 minutes, if somebody can think about, can meditate about what can happen if one is failing the exam, I am sure you will not sleep. Everything will fall in place. I think it's time we should think about how responsible we are towards our own selves, towards our parent, towards somebody who is sponsoring us. Now, how you spend. There's also one more very popular way of saying, if at all there is an unrighteous way of earning, spending will also be that way. If you have earned something without the righteous means, money will go off in the same way. So artha is something that has to be properly arranged based on dharma. There is the kama also. Out of several concepts in Hinduism, kama is one that is mostly misunderstood. Kama is narrowly understood as meeting one's sexual drive, but that's only a part of the whole thing. Anything that gives the sensual happiness to the individual can be called kama. Anything that gives satisfaction to the 5 indriyas can be called kama. Anything that gives you relaxation. That's where Manu says, for brahmacharya, for a brahmachari, there is no right or duty of pursuing kama. Kama, pleasure, is restricted to grihastha alone. Kama can be of varieties. As the book of Kama Sutra mentions, Kama Sutra became popular for the sexual thing, but there are so many chapters that were neglected vis-a-vis this. So he actually narrates what can give the sensual satisfaction. It may be the music, it may be listening to a song, or it may be watching a drama, reading a book, or in our case, maybe attending an anthro class. So it's like, once you're walking out of the class, you are so very sensually satisfied. So if a friend of you asks, where are you coming from? I have performed karma and coming. Because actually speaking, it is the sensual satisfaction that you have pursued. But this kind of a sensual satisfaction is forbidden for anybody in the 3 other ashramas. Only for grihastha it is permitted. And when it comes to the sexual act also, when it comes to the sexual act, the purpose of the sexual act is not one's own sensual happiness, but it is for the progeny one should indulge in the act. So there is limitedness of the purpose. Overdoing of anything is damaging. This is basically for the lineage, for the propagation of the race alone. Now, at this stage, I would want you to look at the other kinds of questions. I was mentioning in the first class on Introduction to Indian Social System, the kind of questions that can be asked, significance of, say, Purushartha, significance of Purushartha, or significance of ashrama system. I'm looking at the first one, significance of Purushartha. So before you come to the next class, I want you to finish reading these topics and come from the write-up, Purusharthas and ashramas especially, and Varna. So tomorrow when we are going to meet, we will be starting with writing on Varna model of caste. I will explain in brief what caste is, and then we will quickly start writing about Varna and caste. Now we'll look at this question. Significance of Purusharthas. I said to you that in all such kind of questions, we will have to answer from 2 time periods. One is the traditional society, the other is contemporary society. In the traditional society, the Purusharthas were actually giving guidelines to people for an orderly living in the society. It is for the 2 purposes. One, for the society to be orderly. Secondly, for this individual to attain the final goal, that is moksha. Significance of Purusharthas is Purusharthas are the moral rules and guidelines given to the Hindu, so that 2 things are achieved. One is the society's survival, society's social order. The second thing is individual's goal of attaining moksha. So for that, in the Purusharthas, there is a flexibility given, flexibility or accommodation given. Accommodation of different varnas. So based on their capability, based on what is given to them, dharma is assigned to them. Based on what is given to them, expectations are there. Expectations are not the same from everybody. Meaning that the kind of Purushartha system that we were having was meeting the limitations and requirements of things like ashrama system and varna system. Every varna, when it is having its own set of duties, the expectations are different. So moksha can be attained both by a man and the women by doing different things. Man's attainment of moksha has a different set of lines, a different path, whereas the female's attainment of moksha is a different one. What is ordered to her is follow the male meticulously. Her job looks to be less strenuous than this fellow's. Poor fellow, he has so many diversions, she has no diversions. She got stuck to only one fellow and she is following him as long as he is there in the grihastha ashrama. Once he goes to vanaprastha, she follows him and then she starts to help him out. In Vanaprastha, the duty, the foremost duty that the male performs is he has to give up the sexual drive. She will be there to help her out in entertaining the guests and doing the other duties. But this lady, once you enter the sannyas ashrama, she goes back to the children so that they can take care of her. There's a possibility, a better possibility of she attaining moksha when compared to this well-read fellow. That's where I said mere knowledge is not sufficient. How you are putting the knowledge to the execution, that matters. So we are actually looking at this question, significance of Purusharthas. In the previous times, in the traditional times, it is for the society, for the individual. See, when times are changing, concepts and belief systems have come under question. When it is said that we moved into scientific and more rational world, everything that was irrational, everything that was a pre-scientific came into question. And that's where it was not simply such kind of concepts, the existence of God itself was questioned. So all these concepts have less followers in the changed scenario. See, it's altogether a different thing to see whether there's a need to follow. Whether there's a need to follow, whether there's a will to follow. These are two different things. The will goes first. Lack of need is actually shown as the lack of will, reason for lack of will. There is a popular way of writing, Ramanuja mentions this. When times are changing, in the contemporary world, humans in general, and in Indian society in particular, we see that people give more importance to artha and kama. Moksha and dharma are not given importance. First of all, when religion is questioned, moksha goes first. When the final goal itself is removed, rest of the ones automatically are driven away. Dharma and moksha are first to go. People are busy pursuing artha and kama. I don't want the student to stop there. I don't want the people to say that Purusharthas are not significant today. So one better way of writing, see, we are structuring the answer this way. When we say Purusharthas, their significance, we look at it from two time periods. One was the previous traditional time when all those things are said. Second is the contemporary time when they are questioned. When all these things are questioned, when religion is questioned, dharma and moksha were the first ones to be followed or to be adhered to. What people are mostly interested in is artha and kama. But what I want you to present after this is, even in the contemporary times, where dharma and where artha and kama are given importance, if not something like a religiously ordained rule, I repeat what I am saying, in the contemporary times, when artha and kama are given more importance, even in today's times, in following artha and kama, if not a religiously ordained rule, some kind of legal mechanism, some kind of rules are culturally, nationally prescribed to achieve artha and kama. You not let loose. Artha and kama are important. हमने आपको ऐसे छोड़ नहीं दिया रोड पे कि however you want you pursue yours. Even in the most modern societies, there are set rules to pursue earning, to pursue kama. So it is something like a new kind of dharma that is coming up, new kind of secular dharma that is coming up. The final purpose may not be moksha. The final purpose may be a social order itself. Previously, social order was in order to meet the moksha. But here, moksha if I am eliminating, even today there are rules to achieve artha and kama. And these rules can be called the modern variants of dharma. So in kama there are rules, in the luxury, in sensual pleasures there are rules, in artha there are particular ways of earning, particular ways of paying taxes. So when you are having all those rules, the contemporary times have come up with their own rule books. So you say that Purusharthas in a modified form, Purusharthas in a more secular variant are still applicable today, if not in the same traditional way. I have given you the answer. Did you understand? Did you understand? So that will be your assignment question, significance of Purusharthas. In today's class, I was broadly talking about ashramas, what you do in each of the ashramas. We were talking about Purusharthas, the 4 of them. And then finally we wounded up with significance of Purusharthas. Any questions? Hanji sir.
In contemporary society, the more emphasis is on artha and kama, but we also find there is more pursuit of unjust means towards attaining this artha and kama. Is it because of the lack of dharma or the present dharma roots are not that strong as compared?
It may be the later one. See, basically, we have entered a time when there is no fear. Fear has to be there. When there is no fear, controlling human behavior becomes difficult. In the erstwhile societies, fear of God was there. When God lost control, the secular elements had to take control. But secular elements are always challenged because they are the made of the humans alone. ఒకసారి నన్ను కంప్లీట్ చేసేని నాన్న అప్పుడు నువ్వు మొదలెడదు కానీ. So when the lack of fear of God is there, the secular means because they are made by the human, there is always an insufficiency and deficiency. And that is the reason why from time to time we will have to reinvent mechanisms of controlling people. Anything else?
So how can you conclude, madam, the earlier dharma was more good than what we are making?
No, you don't try to judge in those ways. That was good for its time. It is gone. Now you can't bring back. I love the Guru Sishya of that time. I can't bring it back. I love Vanaprastha. There are no Vanas. I can't do it. Suppose today you decided that, okay, all 4 ashramas I will follow because they have asked me to follow. After Grihastha, what should I do? I should go to Indira Park. I have no vana. So sannyasa, I can't go and ask bhiksha from everybody. So the times have changed. So certain things suited certain times. So in order to, I am not saying that everything was in order at that time also. Even at that time there were violators, there were culprits, there were punishments. So you don't judge based on that. You may conclude that, see, the Purusharthas of the earlier times can be seen now in the new form, in a variable form. That may be more secular. Because you will have to also address the multicultural society. It's not simply largely the Hindu, the so-called society that we are talking about. Anything else?
Ma'am, is there a variant of moksha in the contemporary? Is there any variant?
That's where, moksha was the ultimate goal of the Hindu. Now you ask yourself, what is your ultimate goal? That's where I was a little while ago mentioning. At that time, moksha was the ultimate goal for which social order was only one intermediate stage. So if I am removing moksha, more secularly, I am mentioning that attaining a social order itself is my duty, or is itself my ultimate goal. So if at all you say that is there a variant of moksha, you will have to see, is it that you are asking in terms of a faith or in a more secular worldview?
There is a part of four Purusharthas in the contemporary society, but we have to search for them.
Ultimate goal may be different from one another. Whether you want to see to it that the ultimate goal is the one owned by or desired by the group, or it is by your own self. Brahmacharya as a duty you are doing. A recitation of Vedas is a duty across all the stages. But see, there is a difference. As a duty, I am reading a scripture that is different from I love it, I enjoy it, I am doing it. It's like studying anthropology for the exam, studying for my own pleasure. You may say so. Fill up your planner. We were talking about one is ashramas, and the second one was Purusharthas. You will majorly be depending on AN02 and the note that I am going to do from tomorrow. You also had seen one small video on headhunters. This is only an introduction to talk about headhunting in the future classes. And one assignment I was talking about, that was relevance or significance of Purusharthas. Have a good time. See you tomorrow.